John Abendroth here with my latest Zoomcast, and as usual, it's sponsored by our friends at Original Joe's of Westlake, and I'm sure my guest has either been there or would, he's shaking his head yes.
Oh, yeah.
With his uncle, Tom Callan, who's a retired firefighter, and, one of the great golfing restaurants around. Tim Bogue, thanks for joining me, and you've been in the news lately, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of tell your story and get it out to the golfing world. Welcome.
Thanks, John.
It was interesting. I think we've maybe met at one point or another, and I talked to your Uncle Tom quite a bit about your game, and then all of a sudden you're in the headlights, the highlights and the headlines of the Champions Tour here a few weeks ago back at the Dick's Sporting Goods. First about your play, but it was about let's call it your preparation to play, which was sleeping in a rental van overnight.
Yeah.
Boy, talk about a throwback.
Yeah, that was a heck of a trip. I qualified in Seattle. I drove from Windsor to Seattle, qualified, played in the Boeing Classic, and then drove home on Sunday after the tournament and headed to New York.
Yeah, that's a crazy stuff. I know I've even heard of players. I think now the top 10 get into the following week, but
yes,
you might finish in 15th place, and you got to go Monday qualify the next day, and do the overnight stuff and all that. Kind of it's just really a crazy circus when you think about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind, especially when you got to go from the West Coast to the East Coast. You couldn't go any farther.
So you travel overnight, and you qualify at the Dick's Sporting Goods, having slept in your van, the rental van overnight, and you shoot 64 in the Monday qualifier.
Yes, I shot 8 under that was on Tuesday.
Okay.
So yeah, to get into the Boeing Classic in Seattle, I shot 69 in the pre-qualifier, and then I shot 66 in the main qualifier, and got in and got my feet wet and had a good time, had a great caddy, and then on Sunday after the tournament, I drove home, slept a few hours, went to SFO, and flew to Charlotte, where there was a little layover, which made I was going to get in at about midnight anyhow, and then I had a layover for about an hour and a half, so it was just so I got into Syracuse at 1:30 in the morning, and then I had another hour and a half to drive to the qualifying course, and I was like, I'm not going to spend $100 or $200 to get a hotel, and so I just drove to the golf course and laid the seat back and slept for about three and a half hours. And as longshoremen, we get a lot of practice sleeping in our cars for breaks and in between shifts and all that good stuff. So
I hadn't said that in the opening, but your day job is you're a longshoreman here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and handling the ropes and the cargo and etc. That's heavy duty itself.
Yeah, that was I mainly drive equipment now, so it's not too strenuous, but when I started and was doing the lashing and the bulk work, and that was some a lot of grease.
Yeah, wow, that's really something. Tim Bogue is joining me today, Windsor, California, and came off a little skins game today with 3 birdies, no skins. Tough crowd you're playing with, I guess, Tim.
Oh yeah, tough guys. They all want to beat me now.
Yeah. And you qualified for the Senior U.S. Open about 4 years ago, and
yes,
and boy, that had to be a great experience. The U.S. does it right.
That was phenomenal. And I played with in the practice rounds. I played with Davis Love and Scott Verplank and Duffy Waldorf. So, I mean, playing with Davis Love, that was like an amazing thing.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you was, what are some of the pairings you've had? But that's that's a fabulous one right there, Davis Love. And, he's really one of the great people in golf right now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I'm still I'm still a fan, even though I'm trying to beat the guys. But I've got pictures with like 15 different guys, and so it's pretty cool. And they're all super. Everybody's been super nice, and so far I've played with Bob Estes and Jesper Parnevik and John Houston and Olin Brown, uh, uh, Russ Cochran. Some names that I grew up watching. Or I mean,
yeah,
we're in our 20s and 30s.
yeah, exactly. And you mentioned to me earlier that you didn't really grow up playing a lot of golf until the Windsor Golf Course opened, and you got a family membership there, and you were mainly playing a lot of baseball, which must run in the Callan family. I know Tom's son played a lot of baseball and all that.
He played at Cal and got drafted and
Yeah,
played for a
nice.
little while.
Yeah, nice. And then so you just sort of started playing and kept playing, and probably a little, local tournaments and the skins games, and then you thought, I'm going to give this a try. Like I said, I think it's the dream of so many of us that have played. And as I've been through a couple of tour schools and was able to get through a little bit, but you hear of so many guys that want to try this, and
Yeah.
it's a tough deal.
Yeah. It's a pipe dream for most guys, but I just stuck with it, and that's about it.
And there's stories that you read about, like I know a great friend of mine, Bruce Summerhays, who, he coached at Stanford. He was a club pro. And then, he qualified on the tour a couple times. He finished third in the AT&T, and then he's back working in the golf shop the next morning. And Bruce went onto the Champions Tour, and he was one of those rare breakthroughs that was not a former PGA Tour player with successes, but he broke through and made it to the Champions Tour with big success. So I always say, in working with old players that I've worked with over the years, and friends of mine that have thought about playing or did play, there's a thing about comfort zone, and you never know when you're going to find your own comfort zone, and all of a sudden you jump to the next level of success.
Yeah. Just playing. For like the first few years, I played amateur tournaments, and I guess I was doing pretty good in the amateur stuff, and I wasn't that interested in getting a couple dozen balls or whatever. So I'm like, I'm gonna try and be a pro so I can win some money, and just stuck with it. And then, my first year or two was pretty terrible, even though I did birdie my first hole as a pro, so that was pretty cool. I do remember that. But then there's just no
That's
money
great.
in it, and I was the leading money winner on the Pepsi Tour and the Players Tour. But it's just, you're barely breaking even if you're the leading money winner on these little tours around Northern California. But it keeps you going. It keeps,
exactly.
it keeps you fueled up, ready to go.
Yeah, we're talking with Tim Bogue. You may have read about him sleeping in his van, qualifying at the Dick's Sporting Goods Open. So what's next? Are you're gonna kind of keep going at it? I know you mentioned some buddies' years. Want some support, and I think you said the other day when we chatted, there's about 5 or 6 tournaments left in the rest of the year. And the good news, you mentioned pre-qualifying. There's a whole system out there that a lot of people don't know about. That if Charlie down at the tire shop wants to try to qualify, he's got to go into Thursday, beat a bunch of really good players, and then go into Monday, beat the other really good players who beat those other
Yeah.
guys.
Yes.
And now you don't have to do the Thursday anymore. You're just a Monday guy.
I'm Monday exempt now. So that's a huge savings on money. And it's awesome because the Monday guys are guys that I grew up watching also. I mean, it's so hard to get on the Champions Tour. It's unbelievable.
So they play 78 players with four spots on a Monday.
Yes.
And tour school, are you going to go to the tour school late this year?
Yes. I'm going to go to tour school,
and that's a tough one. You go through a couple of stages, and the top guy gets exempt, I think, into every tournament. The next three are exempt, but not guaranteed in every tournament. And then the next four are what they call conditional, if I understand it correctly.
they don't even have the conditional anymore.
Sometime.
It's the top five guys are on the Champions Tour, and then from 6th to 30th are Monday exempt, and that's about it. They don't even have the conditional because they have so many other guys that are on the conditional list. If somebody drops out, then they get in.
All right. So here's the story. I see a Titleist hat, but I'm going to guess that Titleist isn't paying you to wear the hat. We need to get you a hat that you're paid for.
That would be nice.
That you didn't have to buy. That somebody's paying you to wear a shirt. And I'm gonna so that people aren't bugging you too much. John at hookedongolf.com. You can send me a note here, and I'll get you in touch with Tim, and hopefully we'll get some action going there. To also talk to me about this. This is really awesome. So you've got a property in Windsor, and you've kind of converted it into your own little driving range, and you work with some of the local kids on their golf game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm just trying to pass on a little bit of knowledge and help some kids out and try and get them to college or maybe even better. Who knows? Yeah,
and I'm sure that I like your attitude and your personality, because the old story, like Davis Love is such an example of this, that when he walks off a green, you can't tell if he's made double bogey or eagle. and you just got to do that. And I'm sure that when you talk to some of these kids, especially the better players, that you talk about attitude and the mental side of it, and that's a big part of it.
Yes, that's the biggest thing, really. I mean, if you have some talent and some skill, the main thing is just trying to keep a even keel, and you're good, and you can go out and shoot a good score anytime. Who cares if you shoot a 75 or a 78 or what have you? The next day could be phenomenal. Yeah, and we'll give a little shout out to Windsor Golf Course. Has been a big part of your growing up and playing there. Oh yes. You get out and play there. Jason's a great guy, and I see he just won our PGA Senior Championship. Yes. Week here in early September, and hopefully he qualifies for the Senior PGA Championship this year. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Well, he'll be in he'll get in the club. He's already in the Club Pro Championship. He's in the field. Then he's got to get the top 20 to get to the next step. Yes. All these different categories and different things. It's it's a real grind. And I don't know that I ever slept in my car, but in these things. But one of my favorite stories, I don't know if you remember the name Rex Caldwell. Oh yes. Rex and I went to tour school together, and our wives were buddies, and we played Monday qualifyings together. And his big story was he'd caddy on Wednesday in the Pro-Am and a PGA Tour event, and then he'd tee it up on the next day. So oh wow. Yeah. He'd qualify on Monday, caddy on Wednesday to make a few bucks, and then he'd tee it up with the big boys on Thursday. So wow. And then he went on to play the Champions Tour. So that's one of my favorite stories. So yeah, that's good. There's a lot of good stories.
Oh, yeah, great stuff.
I'd,
Tim,
I'd like to make one more good story.
there you go. You're a great story, and I appreciate you spending a little time, and you and I'll stay in touch, and I'll keep the folks, up to date on what you're doing, and we'll see if we can't rattle up a little something, a little interest for you. So, all
Appreciate
right.
it, John.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, John.